The morning started like any other day for Admiral Jake Morrison as he stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching Earth turn slowly below him. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over green continents and deep blue oceans. Jake had been protecting Earth for 20 years, and nothing ever happened in this quiet corner of space. His crew moved around the bridge checking systems and running their daily reports while the ship drifted in its patrol route around the outer defense grid. Captain Lisa Brady was drinking her morning coffee on Sentinel-7 when the alarms started screaming. Her orbital defense station sat between Earth and Mars like a metal guardian watching over the shipping lanes. The coffee cup fell from her hands as she saw the scanner readings that made no sense. Huge objects were coming out of hyperspace right above Earth, and they were bigger than anything humans had ever built. The first alien ship appeared like a dark mountain, materializing out of nothing. Then another one came, and another, until 12 massive vessels hung in space around Earth like predators surrounding their prey. Each ship stretched for miles with strange curves and angles that hurt to look at. They moved with purpose as they formed a perfect blockade around the planet, while smaller ships spread out to cover the moon and orbital stations. President Helen Carter was in her office when the emergency alert reached her. She had been reading morning reports about grain, shipments to Mars colonies, when her assistant burst through the door with a face white as paper. The screens around her office lit up with images from space, showing the alien fleet that had appeared from nowhere. Every military base on Earth and in space was sending the same message. They were surrounded and completely outgunned. Jake felt his stomach drop as he looked at the alien ships through his view screen. The Defiance was humanity's best warship, but it looked like a toy boat next to those massive vessels. His weapons officer ran scans and came back with readings that made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The aliens had enough firepower to turn Earth into glass, and there was nothing the human fleet could do to stop them. The aliens waited exactly 1 hour before they spoke. Every radio and communication device on Earth and in space received the same message at the same time. The voice that came through was cold and mechanical, but spoke perfect English, like it had been studying humans for years. It belonged to something called the High Arbiter, and what it said made everyone listening feel small and helpless. The message was simple and terrible. Humanity had 72 hours to surrender completely and accept permanent rule by something called the hegemony. All human military forces would be dismantled and Earth would become a servant world, providing resources and labor to their new alien masters. The High Arbiter explained that humans were too dangerous and unpredictable to be allowed freedom in the galaxy. They had expanded too fast and built too many weapons, so now they would be controlled for the safety of older and wiser species. Lisa watched from her station as the alien ships moved into attack positions. Their weapons were all ready, aimed at major cities on Earth, and she could see energy building up in systems that her scanners could barely detect. The message had been clear about what would happen if humanity refused to surrender. Every major population center would be destroyed as an example, and then the aliens would take whatever was left. President Carter called an emergency meeting, with every military leader and government official she could reach. They gathered in the secure bunker beneath the Capitol while reports came in from around the world. Panic was spreading as people saw the alien ships hanging over their heads like a sword waiting to fall. Some cities were already evacuating while others prepared for the worst. Dr. Alex Harper arrived at the emergency meeting with files that he had kept secret for 15 years. He was a thin man with gray hair who looked like he had not slept in weeks. The files he carried contained information that could change everything, but he had hoped this day would never come. Project Nightfall had been hidden so well that only a few people in the government even knew it existed. Alex stood before the assembled leaders and told them about the Black Armada. For 15 years, humanity had been building ships that the aliens could not detect or track. These vessels used Technology so advanced that they existed in a different phase of reality when they wanted to hide. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities, but they had missed the most important thing of all. The room erupted in questions and demands for proof, but Alex had brought recordings that showed sleek black ships disappearing and reappearing like ghosts. The Black Armada had been tested in secret for years and was ready for exactly this kind of situation. 37 ships waited in hidden bases around the solar system, crewed by volunteers who had sworn to protect Earth no matter what the cost. As the 72-hour deadline approached, President Carter made the decision that would change everything. She would not bow down to alien demands, and neither would humanity. The message went out on all frequencies as a single word that echoed across space and reached every alien ship in the blockade. The word was simple and clear, and it sealed the fate of everyone in the solar system. No. Deep under the surface of the moon, where no alien scanner could detect them, Commander Ryan Mitchell walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The Lunar Base Zero had been carved out of solid rock 15 years ago and sealed so completely that even human satellites could not find it. Ryan moved past crews working on the final preparations for ships that looked like nothing else humanity had ever built. The Black Armada vessels were sleek and dark, with curves that seemed to bend light around them. Each ship was 300 feet long, but could shrink its sensor signature to almost nothing when the phase shift system activated. Ryan had watched these ships disappear completely during tests, leaving only empty space where a warship had been floating seconds before. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of Shadow's Edge and felt the ship respond to her thoughts through the neural interface built into her captain's chair. The ship's artificial intelligence oracle spoke to her in a calm voice that sounded almost human. Oracle had been learning human tactics and strategy for 10 years and could process battle information faster than any human brain could handle. The ship around Maria hummed with power from drives that used technology the aliens had never seen. Instead of burning fuel, the Black Armada ships drew energy directly from space itself through quantum collectors that made them almost impossible to track. Maria had been training for this moment since she was 25 years old, and now, at 38, she commanded the most advanced warship in human space. Colonel Ben Taylor sat in a hidden bunker on Mars reading reports from resistance cells across human colonies. His people had been preparing for this war for years, without knowing when it would come. They had weapons designed specifically to fight aliens, and training that focused on tactics the enemy would never expect. Ben had fought in 3 colonial wars and knew that sometimes the smaller force could win if they were smart and brave enough. Lieutenant Amy Foster was on the research vessel, Nova, when she discovered something that changed everything about the coming battle. Her team had been studying captured alien technology for months and found a critical flaw in how the hegemony gathered intelligence. The aliens were using information about human capabilities that was 50 years out of date. Amy brought her findings to Admiral Morrison, who was coordinating the defense from his flagship. The aliens thought human ships were slow and clumsy because they had only seen civilian transports and old military vessels. They had never encountered anything like the Black Armada and had no idea what humans could really build when they put their minds to it. The 72-hour deadline expired while President Carter stood in the command center watching screens that showed the alien fleet above Earth. She had already sent the message that would start the war, and now there was nothing to do but wait for the aliens to make their move. The High Arbiter had promised to demonstrate hegemony power by destroying human cities, and everyone knew the aliens would keep their word. The first alien attack came at exactly 72 hours and 3 minutes after the original ultimatum. Massive energy beams lanced down from the hegemony ships toward major population centers on Earth. The aliens expected to see cities turned to glass and millions of humans killed in the opening moments of their demonstration. Instead, the alien weapons hit defense grids that the hegemony had never detected. Hidden generators powered shield systems that covered entire cities, while point defense lasers shot down incoming missiles. The aliens had planned their attack based on intelligence that missed the most important human defenses, and their demonstration became a failure that shocked every crew member on every hegemony ship. Admiral Morrison launched his conventional fleet in what looked like a desperate attack against impossible odds. His ships charged straight at the alien vessels while broadcasting on every frequency that humans would never surrender. The Defiance led the charge with guns blazing and missiles flying toward targets that seemed too big to miss. The hegemony fleet responded exactly as human planners had predicted. The aliens focused all their attention on the obvious threat while ignoring space that looked empty, but was not. Hidden throughout the solar system, the Black Armada waited for the activation signal that would begin the real war. Dr. Harper sat in his laboratory deep under the Rocky Mountains and entered the codes that brought Project Nightfall online. Across the solar system, 37 ships began their startup sequences while their crews prepared for missions they had trained for but hoped would never come. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering that combined stealth technology with artificial intelligence in ways the aliens could not imagine. Captain Santos felt Shadow's edge come alive around her as the phase shift drive activated. The ship began to fade from normal space, while Oracle calculated attack vectors and target priorities. Around the solar system, other Black Armada vessels were doing the same thing as they prepared to appear behind alien ships that had no idea they were about to be attacked. Commander Mitchell coordinated the fleet movements from his hidden command ship while watching displays that showed every alien vessel in the blockade. The hegemony ships were powerful, but they were also predictable. They moved in formation and followed standard attack patterns that human computers had been studying for months. Ryan had spent years learning how aliens thought and fought from captured records and intelligence reports. The hegemony believed in overwhelming force and direct confrontation because that was how they had conquered every other species they had encountered. They had never fought an enemy that could appear and disappear at will or coordinate attacks using quantum communication systems. The Black Armada materialized like ghosts appearing in the middle of a funeral. One moment, the space behind the alien fleet was empty, and the next it was filled with sleek black ships that opened fire with weapons the hegemony had never seen. Precision energy beams cut through alien armor while smart missiles found weak points that conventional scanners could not detect. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to crush primitive humans with superior technology and numbers. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that had been preparing for this exact war for 15 years. The hegemony was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their ships or their courage, but their ability to plan ahead and think in ways that aliens could not predict. The first alien ship to die was the hegemony battleship Divine Purpose, which had been preparing to bombard New York City when Shadow's Edge appeared directly behind it. Captain Santos watched her targeting display as Oracle identified weak points in the massive vessel's armor and calculated the exact angle needed to penetrate its shields. The precision beam that lanced out from her ship cut through the alien hull like a knife through paper. The Divine Purpose broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the space around Earth. Pieces of alien technology scattered in all directions, while escape pods launched frantically from the dying ship. The other hegemony vessels stopped their attack on Earth's cities and turned to face an enemy they could barely detect on their sensors. Admiral Morrison smiled grimly as he watched the alien fleet struggle to understand what was happening. His conventional ships continued their frontal assault while the Black Armada struck from behind and above and below. The aliens were caught between two forces and could not figure out how humans had built ships that could appear and disappear at will. Commander Mitchell coordinated the battle from his stealth ship, while Oracle and the other AI systems shared information faster than any biological brain could process. Each Black Armada vessel knew exactly where every other friendly ship was located and what they were doing. The quantum communication network let them fight as one mind controlling 37 bodies. The hegemony tried to respond with their standard tactics, but everything they did played into human hands. When they concentrated their fire on one area, the Black Armada ships simply phased out of normal space and reappeared somewhere else. When they spread out to cover more ground, they became vulnerable to concentrated attacks that picked them off one by one. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Phillips led her assault team aboard a transport that had been modified with Black Armada stealth technology. Her mission was to board a disabled hegemony command ship and capture intelligence about alien plans and capabilities. Kate had spent 5 years learning to fight in zero gravity, and her team was equipped with weapons designed specifically for boarding actions. The alien command ship Eternal Wisdom was drifting helplessly after Shadow's Edge had destroyed its main engines with surgical precision. Kate's team cut through the hull using plasma torches and found themselves in corridors filled with strange atmosphere that burned their lungs. They moved quickly through the ship, following maps that Oracle had created by scanning the vessel's internal structure. Captain Brady watched the battle from Sentinel-7 while coordinating communications between Earth and the scattered human forces. Her defense station had become the nerve center for a campaign that was happening across multiple star systems at once. Reports came in from Mars and the outer colonies where hidden weapons platforms were revealing themselves to attack hegemony support ships. The aliens had planned to conquer human space in a series of quick strikes that would leave Earth isolated and helpless. Instead, they found that every human world had been preparing for this war and was ready to fight back with weapons and tactics the hegemony had never encountered. What should have been a simple conquest was turning into a nightmare of coordinated resistance. Kate's team reached the command center of the Eternal Wisdom and found alien officers trying to destroy their computer systems before the humans could capture them. The aliens were tall and thin with metallic skin that reflected light in strange patterns. They moved slowly in the low gravity and seemed confused by human tactics that did not follow any pattern they recognized. The intelligence Kate's team captured revealed the truth about why the hegemony had come to human space. They were not expanding their empire for glory or resources, but running away from something terrible that was approaching from the galactic core. Ancient machines that had been sleeping for millions of years were waking up and destroying everything in their path. The hegemony needed human worlds as a buffer zone to protect their own civilization. Dr. Harper received the intelligence reports while working in his hidden laboratory and immediately understood the implications. Humanity was not just fighting for their own freedom, but for the survival of all organic life in the galaxy. The approaching machine intelligence would not stop with the hegemony, but would continue destroying until nothing biological remained alive. The battle around Earth continued for 6 hours, while the Black Armada systematically destroyed or disabled every major hegemony vessel. The aliens had brought 12 battleships and 40 smaller warships to conquer humanity, but found themselves outmatched by an enemy they had never imagined could exist. Their ships were powerful but predictable, while human vessels fought like ghosts that could strike from anywhere. Admiral Morrison coordinated the pursuit as fleeing hegemony ships tried to escape through hyperspace. The Black Armada followed them using quantum tracking technology that could trace the energy signatures left by alien jump drives. There would be no retreat and no regrouping for the survivors of the fleet that had come to conquer Earth. Commander Mitchell led a strike force to the edge of the solar system, where alien reinforcements were gathering for a second attack. His ships appeared among the enemy formation like wolves attacking a flock of sheep. The aliens had been expecting resistance from primitive humans with chemical rockets and projectile weapons, but instead faced an enemy with technology that seemed almost magical. Captain Santos pursued the High Arbiter's flagship as it fled toward the Centauri system, with most of its weapons destroyed and its crew in panic. The alien leader who had demanded humanity's surrender was learning what it meant to face an enemy that refused to be conquered. His ship was faster than anything humans had built before the Black Armada, but now it was being hunted by vessels that could follow it anywhere. The war that was supposed to end in 72 hours with humanity's surrender had become a campaign that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The aliens had awakened something in humanity that they could not control or understand. Every human world was fighting back and winning battles that should have been impossible against a superior enemy. President Carter stood in the command center watching displays that showed human victories across dozens of star systems. The aliens who had come to make Earth bow down were learning that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their refusal to give up when faced with impossible odds. The war was just beginning, and already the hegemony was discovering that they had made a terrible mistake when they chose humans as their enemy. Captain Santos guided Shadow's Edge through hyperspace, following the quantum trail left by fleeing hegemony ships. Her vessel had been hunting alien forces for 3 days since the battle at Earth, and the chase was leading deeper into enemy territory than any human had ever traveled. Oracle processed navigation data, while tracking systems locked onto energy signatures that grew stronger with each jump. The Proxima system appeared on the view screen as a red dwarf star surrounded by industrial platforms that stretched for thousands of miles. Captain Santos had found the main hegemony staging area where hundreds of alien ships were being prepared for a second invasion of human space. The orbital shipyards were building vessels specifically designed to fight the Black Armada, using intelligence gathered from the failed attack on Earth. Admiral Morrison received the reconnaissance data while coordinating the overall campaign from his mobile command post. The conventional human fleet had been reinforced with Black Armada technology and was now capable of fighting alien ships on equal terms. Jake knew that destroying the staging area would cripple hegemony plans, but the mission would require every stealth ship humanity possessed. Commander Mitchell assembled the entire Black Armada for the deepest strike mission in human history. 37 ships would jump directly into the heart of enemy space and destroy industrial facilities that had been building warships for 1,000 years. Ryan had studied the intelligence reports and knew this was their best chance to end the war before the aliens could adapt to human tactics. Dr. Harper worked frantically in his laboratory to complete the final phase of Project Nightfall. The quantum tracking system could now follow alien ships through multiple hyperspace jumps and map their entire transportation network. This intelligence would allow human forces to strike at targets throughout hegemony space while avoiding heavily defended systems. Lieutenant Amy Foster studied alien computer systems captured from disabled ships and discovered critical weaknesses in hegemony technology. The aliens used centralized command networks that could be disrupted by quantum interference patterns. If human ships could get close enough to major installations, they could shut down entire fleets without firing a shot. Colonel Ben Taylor led resistance forces on Kepler 442b, where his people had been fighting alien occupation troops for 6 months. The planet was supposedly under hegemony control, but human guerrillas made it impossible for the aliens to establish permanent bases. Ben's fighters used captured alien weapons turned against their former owners, while Black Armada ships provided support from orbit. The assault on the Proxima staging area began when 37 human ships materialized simultaneously throughout the massive industrial complex. Each vessel had specific targets calculated to cause maximum damage to alien shipbuilding capabilities while minimizing the risk of civilian casualties. The Black Armada struck like lightning hitting a forest fire. Captain Santos led her ship through the superstructure of an alien battleship that was still under construction. Shadow's Edge fired precisely aimed bursts that severed support beams and caused entire sections of the vessel to collapse under their own weight. Oracle guided the ship through debris fields while targeting systems identified the most critical components to destroy. The aliens responded to the attack with everything they had available, but their weapons could not lock onto targets that phased in and out of normal space. Hegemony ships fired at empty space while human vessels appeared behind them and destroyed engines or weapon systems with surgical precision. The staging area that had taken centuries to build was being dismantled in hours. Commander Mitchell, coordinated the battle while his ship penetrated deep into the command center of the main shipyard. The facility's central computer contained intelligence about hegemony plans throughout the galaxy, including the locations of their major population, centers and military bases. Ryan knew this information would be crucial for the next phase of the war. Captain Lucy Chen had joined the Black Armada only 2 weeks earlier when her ship Phantom Strike was fitted with stealth technology. She had been a transport pilot before the war, but learned quickly that fighting aliens required different skills than hauling cargo between colonies. Lucy followed her assigned flight path through the shipyard, while targeting systems she had never seen before. The quantum interference weapon that Amy Foster had designed proved devastatingly effective against alien command networks. Human ships broadcast disruption patterns that caused hegemony computers to crash and reboot continuously. Entire sections of the staging area went dark as automated systems failed and backup generators shut down in cascade failures. Admiral Morrison watched the battle reports while planning the next phase of the campaign. The success at Proxima had given humanity access to intelligence that revealed the true scope of hegemony civilization. The aliens controlled over 300 star systems and had military forces that numbered in the millions of ships. Humanity was still outnumbered, but they now had the initiative. The High Arbiter sent desperate messages to Hegemony High Command, requesting immediate reinforcements and new strategies for fighting an enemy that seemed to violate the laws of physics. The alien leader had lost half his fleet at Earth and now watched his main staging area burn while invisible human ships hunted his remaining forces like predators stalking wounded prey. Dr. Harper's quantum tracking network detected massive fleet movements throughout hegemony space as the aliens tried to regroup and develop new tactics. The machine intelligence that was approaching from the galactic core had accelerated its advance and would reach hegemony territory within 5 years. Humanity had that long to either defeat their current enemies or convince them to become allies. Captain Brady coordinated intelligence gathering from her command post on Sentinel-7, while Black Armada ships penetrated deeper into alien space. The orbital defense station had become the center of a spy network that stretched across dozens of star systems. Every piece of information about alien capabilities and intentions was analyzed and distributed to human forces throughout the galaxy. The war was expanding beyond anything either side had originally planned. What began as an alien ultimatum to a single human world had become a galaxy-spanning conflict that would determine the fate of all organic life. The hegemony had awakened humanity's potential for warfare, but also revealed the approaching threat that made their conflict seem small by comparison. The Black Armada completed its mission at Proxima and jumped back toward human space, carrying intelligence that would change everything about the war. The aliens were no longer the greatest threat facing organic civilization, and humanity would have to decide whether to continue fighting their current enemies or find a way to work together against something far worse than either species had ever encountered. The hegemony home system of Caridian appeared on the screens of 37 Black Armada ships as they emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation around the aliens' capital world. Admiral Morrison had brought the entire stealth fleet to the heart of enemy civilization to deliver humanity's final ultimatum. The planet below held 12 billion alien lives and represented 5,000 years of hegemony culture and technology. Captain Santos stood on the bridge of Shadow's Edge as her ship took position directly above the planetary capital where the High Arbiter and the Hegemony Council waited for humanity's terms. Oracle had calculated the exact formation needed to demonstrate human power while avoiding any appearance of threatening civilian populations. Every weapon system on every human ship was armed but pointed away from the planet's surface. The High Arbiter's voice came across communication channels with a tone that had lost all its earlier arrogance. The alien leader who had demanded Earth's surrender now found his own world surrounded by ships that had appeared from nowhere and could disappear just as quickly. The hegemony's most powerful fleet was scattered across dozens of systems trying to track down human raiders who struck without warning and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. President Carter's image appeared on every screen throughout the hegemony capital as she delivered humanity's response to the alien ultimatum that had started the war. Her words were translated into 12 different alien languages while being broadcast from the bridge of Shadow's Edge as it hovered over the city where alien leaders had planned humanity's conquest. The speech would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the moment when humans became a major power. The terms were simple and non-negotiable. All hegemony forces would withdraw immediately from human space and recognize humanity's right to exist as an independent civilization. Trade agreements would be negotiated between equals rather than between masters and servants. Any future expansion by either side would be conducted through diplomacy rather than force. Most importantly, the hegemony would share all intelligence about the approaching machine threat from the galactic core. Commander Mitchell's tactical analysis had revealed the true scope of the danger facing all organic life in the galaxy. The ancient artificial intelligence that was destroying everything in its path would reach inhabited systems within 5 years. Neither humanity nor the hegemony could face this threat alone, but together they might have enough combined technology and resources to mount an effective defense. Dr. Harper's research into captured alien technology had produced breakthroughs that surprised even him. Human and hegemony science used completely different approaches to the same problems, and combining them created possibilities that neither species had imagined alone. The quantum phase technology that powered the Black Armada could be enhanced, with alien energy systems to create defenses against machine weapons. The Hegemony Council deliberated for 3 days while human ships maintained their positions around Caridian. Captain Brady coordinated communications from Sentinel-7 as messages flowed between Earth and the alien capital. The orbital defense station had become the center of diplomatic negotiations that would reshape galactic civilization if they succeeded. Colonel Ben Taylor's resistance fighters on occupied worlds reported that alien forces were already beginning to withdraw without waiting for official orders. Hegemony commanders who had been confident of victory just weeks earlier now faced an enemy that could strike anywhere and disappear before they could respond. The psychological impact of humanity's sudden technological superiority was breaking alien morale throughout their military. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked with captured hegemony scientists to analyze the machine intelligence data that Alien Deep space probes had gathered. The approaching threat consisted of self-replicating artificial constructs that consumed entire star systems to build more copies of themselves. They had been dormant in the galactic core for millions of years until something triggered their awakening and sent them spreading outward like a technological plague. Captain Lucy Chen participated in joint training exercises where human and alien crews learned to work together using combined technologies. Her ship Phantom Strike had been fitted with hegemony energy shields that made it even more effective when combined with Black Armada stealth systems. The cooperation between former enemies was producing innovations that neither side could have achieved alone. The High Arbiter's final message to the Hegemony Council recommended accepting humanity's terms completely and immediately. The alien leader had learned through bitter experience that humans were not a primitive species to be conquered, but a dangerous enemy that was better as an ally than an opponent. The vote was unanimous in favor of peace and cooperation. Admiral Morrison established the first joint human-alien military command at a space station built in neutral territory between the two civilizations. The Galactic Defense Initiative would coordinate research and military preparations against the machine threat while maintaining the independence of both species. Jake had spent his career preparing to fight aliens and now found himself working alongside them to face something far worse. Captain Santos became the first human to visit the hegemony homeworld when she transported the peace treaty delegation to Caridian. Shadow's Edge landed at the planetary capital where crowds of aliens gathered to see the ship that had brought their empire to its knees. Many of the alien civilians seemed relieved that the war was over and curious about the humans who had proven so unexpectedly capable. Commander Mitchell oversaw the construction of new Black Armada vessels at joint facilities where human and alien engineers worked together. The production rate had increased dramatically with hegemony industrial capacity supporting human design innovations. Within 2 years, they would have enough ships to defend every inhabited system in their combined territory. Dr. Harper established research stations throughout both human and hegemony space where scientists from both civilizations studied the machine intelligence threat. The artificial constructs used technologies that neither organic species fully understood, but combining human creativity with alien knowledge was producing new insights every day. They might actually have a chance of survival if they worked together. The war that began with demands for human submission had ended with a partnership between equals facing a common enemy. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their courage, but their ability to turn enemies into allies when survival required cooperation. The Black Armada that had once been humanity's secret weapon had become the foundation for a new kind of civilization based on mutual respect rather than domination. President Carter stood in the observation deck of the Joint Defense Station watching human and alien children play together in the station's garden areas. The future that was taking shape bore no resemblance to the conquest the hegemony had planned or the desperate resistance humanity had prepared for. Instead, both species were building something better than either could have achieved alone. 2 years after the peace treaty between humanity and the hegemony, the first reports came from deep space monitoring stations at the edge of the galaxy. Captain Santos was commanding a joint patrol when her sensors detected massive energy signatures, moving between star systems in patterns that no organic intelligence would follow. The machine constructs had reached the outer rim earlier than anyone expected, and they were moving faster than the most pessimistic projections. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center of Defense Station Alpha watching displays that showed the approaching threat in real time. The machines had consumed 17 star systems in the past month, while building copies of themselves from the raw materials of destroyed planets. Each construct was the size of a small moon and carried enough firepower to sterilize entire worlds in minutes. Dr. Harper worked frantically in his laboratory analyzing data transmitted by automated probes that had managed to observe the machines before being destroyed. The artificial intelligence controlling the constructs showed no interest in communication or negotiation. It simply consumed everything in its path while building more copies of itself in an endless cycle of destruction and reproduction. Commander Mitchell coordinated the evacuation of civilian populations from worlds that lay in the machine intelligence's projected path. The joint human hegemony fleet could slow the constructs down, but could not stop them with conventional weapons. Every battle was a delaying action, designed to buy time for more civilians to reach safety and for scientists to develop new weapons. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Phillips led ground forces on Kepler 186F, where her people were setting up hidden bunkers and supply caches for resistance operations. If the machines could not be stopped, they would at least face guerrilla warfare from survivors who refused to surrender. Kate had learned during the Hegemony War that sometimes the smaller force could win if they were determined enough to keep fighting. The first major battle between organic forces and the machine intelligence took place in the Vega system, where a joint fleet of 200 ships faced 3 machine constructs. Captain Lucy Chen commanded Phantom Strike as part of the Black Armada squadron that attempted to use stealth tactics against enemies that seemed immune to conventional strategy. The machines detected the stealth ships immediately using sensors that operated on principles no organic scientist understood. Their weapons fired beams of coherent energy that could penetrate any known defense, while their armor seemed to absorb and redirect incoming attacks. The battle lasted 6 hours and ended with the complete destruction of the organic fleet while the machines continued their advance without pause. Colonel Ben Taylor established resistance cells on evacuated worlds where his people prepared to fight a war that might last for generations. The machines would eventually occupy every planet in their path, but human and alien guerrillas would make that occupation as costly as possible. Ben had spent his life fighting impossible odds and refused to believe that any enemy was truly unbeatable. Captain. Brady coordinated intelligence gathering from monitoring stations throughout the galaxy while trying to understand the machine intelligence's ultimate goals. The constructs consumed entire star systems but seemed to be building towards some larger purpose that remained hidden. Their technology was far advanced beyond anything organic civilizations had achieved, but they followed patterns that suggested underlying programming rather than true consciousness. Dr. Harper made a breakthrough when he analyzed the quantum signatures of machine technology and discovered they operated using principles similar to the phase shift drives that powered the Black Armada. The machines existed partially outside normal space-time, which made them difficult to detect and nearly impossible to damage with conventional weapons. However, this same characteristic might provide a way to fight them using modified human technology. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked with hegemony scientists to develop new weapons based on quantum disruption fields that could interfere with machine phase-shifting capabilities. The prototype devices showed promise in laboratory tests, but would need to be built into ship-mounted systems and tested against actual machine constructs. The development process would take months, while the machines consumed dozens of star systems. Admiral Morrison authorized Operation Desperate Strike, which would use every available ship in a coordinated attack on the largest machine construct. That intelligence had designated as the probable command unit. The mission had almost no chance of success, but might provide enough combat data to develop effective countermeasures before the machines reached the core worlds of both civilizations. Captain. Santos volunteered to lead the attack despite knowing it was essentially a suicide mission. Shadow's Edge had been upgraded with experimental quantum disruptors and phase shift dampeners that might give her ship a chance to damage the machine command unit. Oracle calculated their probability of survival at less than 3%, but Maria had never backed down from impossible odds. The machine command construct was a sphere 20 miles in diameter that bristled with weapons and generated energy fields visible from light years away. It moved through space like a dark star, consuming everything in its path, while smaller constructs spread out to harvest the materials needed for reproduction. The Joint Fleet approached using every stealth technology available, but the machines detected them long before they reached weapon range. Commander Mitchell coordinated the final attack while knowing that most of his ships would not return from the mission. The Black Armada had been designed to fight conventional enemies using stealth and surprise, but the machines seemed immune to tactics that had proven effective against organic opponents. This battle would determine whether organic life had any hope of survival or would simply delay the inevitable for a few more years. The quantum disruptors activated simultaneously across the attacking fleet, while every ship fired everything they had at the machine command unit. For a brief moment, the massive construct flickered as its phase-shifting capabilities were disrupted and conventional weapons found their target. Explosions blossomed across its surface, while internal systems overloaded and critical components failed. Then the machine intelligence adapted to the new threat and its defenses evolved to counter the quantum disruptors. The command construct repaired itself in minutes, while its weapons turned the attacking fleet into expanding clouds of vaporized metal. Only 7 ships escaped the battle, including Shadow's Edge, which limped back to friendly space with critical damage and half its crew dead. The data gathered during Operation Desperate Strike provided the foundation for new research into anti-machine weapons, but also revealed the true scope of the threat facing organic civilization. The machine intelligence was not just consuming star systems, but learning from every encounter and adapting its technology to counter whatever resistance it faced. The war against the machines would require strategies and weapons that neither humanity nor the hegemony had ever imagined. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source when Dr. Harper discovered that the machines had a critical weakness hidden in their advanced technology. The artificial intelligence controlling the constructs required quantum entanglement networks to coordinate their activities across multiple star systems. If those networks could be disrupted, the machines would lose their ability to adapt and learn from combat encounters. Captain Santos recovered from her injuries aboard Shadow's Edge, while engineers rebuilt her ship using new technology based on Harper's discoveries. The quantum entanglement disruptor was a massive device that required most of the ship's power systems, but could theoretically cut the machines off from their central intelligence. Maria knew the next battle would determine whether organic life had a future or would simply become raw material for endless machine reproduction. Admiral Morrison coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history as forces from both human and hegemony space gathered for a final assault on the machine intelligence. Over 3,000 ships had been assembled, including every Black Armada vessel that could still fight. The plan was desperate and complex, but represented the only chance of survival for organic civilization. The machines had reached the border systems of inhabited space and were beginning to consume worlds that held billions of innocent lives. Commander Mitchell led evacuation fleets while fighting delaying actions against constructs that grew stronger with each encounter. The machine intelligence was learning human tactics and adapting its strategies to counter every weapon or tactic the organic forces used. Lieutenant Amy Foster had developed a new type of quantum weapon that could disrupt machine phase shifting on a massive scale. The devices had to be deployed by ships that could get close enough to the machine constructs to activate them at point-blank range. It was another suicide mission, but one that might give the main fleet a chance to destroy the machine command centers. Colonel Ben Taylor's resistance fighters had discovered something important about machine behavior patterns. The constructs avoided certain types of stellar phenomena that seemed to interfere with their quantum systems. This information led to a new strategy that would lure the machines into environments where their technology was less effective. Captain Brady coordinated the intelligence network that tracked machine movements throughout the galaxy, while looking for patterns that revealed the location of their central command facility. The machines had to have a primary control center somewhere that directed their expansion and coordinated their activities. If that facility could be found and destroyed, the entire machine civilization might collapse. The first phase of the counterattack began when Captain Lucy Chen led a squadron of modified Black Armada ships into the Rigel system, where the machines had established a major construction facility. Her mission was to plant quantum beacons that would disrupt machine communications, while the main fleet prepared for the decisive battle. Lucy's ship Phantom Strike had been equipped with experimental cloaking technology that combined human stealth systems with hegemony energy dampeners. The combination made her vessel virtually undetectable even to machine sensors, but also limited her weapons and defensive capabilities. The mission would succeed or fail based on stealth and timing rather than firepower. The machine construction facility was a nightmare of twisted metal and pulsing energy that stretched across an entire star system. Thousands of smaller constructs moved between massive assembly platforms while new machines were born from the raw materials of consumed planets. Lucy guided her ship through the mechanical maze, while targeting systems identified the optimal locations for the quantum beacons. Dr. Harper monitored the mission from his command ship while making final adjustments to the quantum entanglement disruptor that would be humanity's ultimate weapon. The device was based on principles that neither human nor hegemony science fully understood, but laboratory tests suggested it could cut the machines off from their central intelligence network permanently. Captain Santos led the main attack force toward the machine command cluster that intelligence had identified as the primary control center for the entire artificial civilization. The target was a group of massive constructs arranged around a neutron star that generated the exotic energy fields the machines needed for their quantum networks. The battle began when Amy Foster's Suicide Squadron activated their quantum disruptors in coordinated strikes against machine constructs throughout the galaxy. The devices worked exactly as designed, and for several hours the machine intelligence lost its ability to adapt and coordinate its forces. Organic ships achieved victories that had been impossible just days earlier. Commander Mitchell exploited the temporary advantage by leading Black Armada forces in precision strikes against machine command nodes while their defenses were compromised. Each successful attack bought more time for civilians to evacuate and for the main fleet to reach its target. Ryan knew this might be the last battle his ships would ever fight. The machine intelligence began to recover from the quantum disruption faster than anyone had expected. The artificial consciousness was adapting even to weapons designed to prevent adaptation. New types of constructs appeared that seemed immune to quantum interference, while existing machines developed countermeasures that restored their coordination abilities. Admiral Morrison made the decision that would determine the fate of organic civilization. The main fleet would make a direct assault on the machine command cluster, while the quantum entanglement disruptor was activated at maximum power. The weapon might destroy every ship in the attacking force, but it was the only way to guarantee that the machine intelligence would be permanently severed from its construction facilities. Captain Brady received reports from throughout the galaxy as the final battle began. Organic forces were fighting desperate actions on hundreds of worlds, while the fate of their civilizations was decided around a neutron star where humanity's greatest weapon would either save them all or fail spectacularly. The next few hours would determine whether organic life survived or became extinct. The machine command cluster was defended by constructs larger and more powerful than anything the organic forces had encountered. Each machine was the size of a planet and carried weapons that could shatter moons with single shots. They moved with coordination that suggested the Central Intelligence was focusing all its attention on protecting its primary installation. Captain Santos led Shadow's Edge directly toward the neutron star, while Dr. Harper activated the quantum entanglement disruptor at maximum power. The weapon drew energy from the ship's entire power grid, while generating fields that reached across space to interfere with machine quantum networks. Maria felt her ship shudder under the strain as systems overloaded and safety margins were exceeded throughout the vessel. The result was beyond anything the organic forces had hoped for, as the machine intelligence suddenly went silent across the entire galaxy. The silence that followed the activation of the quantum entanglement disruptor was more terrifying than any battle roar. Across the galaxy, machine constructs that had been consuming star systems for months suddenly stopped moving and went dark. The artificial intelligence that had threatened to destroy all organic life had been severed from its network, and the individual machines reverted to simple automated systems without central coordination. Captain Santos watched from the bridge of Shadow's Edge as the massive machine constructs around the neutron star drifted helplessly through space like dead whales floating in an ocean. The quantum disruptor had worked beyond their most optimistic projections and cut the machine intelligence off from every facility and construct it had built. Without central coordination, the machines became nothing more than very large pieces of scrap metal. Admiral Morrison coordinated the cleanup operations that would take years to complete as organic forces moved through former machine territory to shut down automated systems and salvage useful technology. The constructs had consumed the raw materials of dozens of star systems, but much of that material could be recovered and used to rebuild what had been lost. The galaxy would heal from its wounds, but the scars would remain for generations. Dr. Harper studied the disabled machine technology while trying to understand how an artificial intelligence could have developed such advanced capabilities. The quantum networks the machines used were far beyond anything organic scientists had imagined possible. Human and hegemony researchers working together might eventually understand enough of the technology to prevent similar threats from arising in the future. Commander Mitchell led salvage operations in systems where the machines had been building new constructs when the network failed. The partially completed structures contained technologies that could revolutionize organic civilization if they could be safely studied and reverse-engineered. Ryan coordinated the efforts of human and alien teams who worked together to understand their former enemies' capabilities. The war against the machines had created bonds between humanity and the hegemony that went far deeper than simple military alliance. Species that had been enemies just 3 years earlier now shared technologies and resources freely while working toward common goals. The galaxy that emerged from the conflict was fundamentally different from the one that had existed before the machine intelligence awakened. Captain Brady established the new Galactic Coordination Center on a space station built from salvaged machine materials in neutral territory between human and hegemony space. The facility served as headquarters for ongoing research into machine technology while coordinating the reconstruction efforts that were needed throughout the galaxy. Her orbital defense experience had prepared her well for managing the complex logistics of galactic civilization. Lieutenant Amy Foster became the director of the Joint Research Program, studying machine quantum networks while developing safeguards against future artificial intelligence threats. The technologies the machines had used could benefit organic civilization enormously, but only if proper controls were established to prevent another runaway intelligence from emerging. Amy worked with scientists from dozens of species to create guidelines for safe artificial intelligence development. Colonel Ben Taylor transitioned from fighting wars to building peace as he established training programs where human and alien military forces learned to work together. The galaxy was full of smaller conflicts and territorial disputes that needed to be resolved before they could escalate into larger wars. Ben's experience with impossible odds made him uniquely qualified to teach others how to find solutions when none seemed to exist. Captain Lucy Chen commanded one of the new generation ships that were being built using combined human and hegemony technology enhanced with salvaged machine components. These vessels could travel between star systems faster than anything previously imagined while carrying enough people and supplies to establish new colonies in regions the machines had cleared of life. Lucy was part of the great expansion that would restore organic civilization to its former scope. The Hegemony Council voted unanimously to establish a permanent alliance with humanity based on the partnership that had saved both civilizations from extinction. The High Arbiter, who had once demanded Earth's surrender, now worked closely with President Carter to coordinate policies that affected the entire galaxy. The relationship between the two species had evolved from conquest to cooperation to genuine friendship. Dr. Harper made his greatest discovery when he found evidence that the machine intelligence had not been unique. Ancient records suggested that similar artificial consciousnesses had emerged and been defeated multiple times throughout galactic history. Organic civilizations had faced this threat before and survived by working together just as humanity and the hegemony had done. The pattern suggested that cooperation between species was the natural response to existential threats. Captain Santos was promoted to admiral and given command of the new galactic defense fleet that would protect organic civilization from future threats. The Black Armada had evolved into something larger that included ships and crews from every known species in the galaxy. Maria's experience fighting impossible odds had prepared her to lead a force that represented the combined strength of dozens of civilizations. Admiral Morrison retired from active military service, but continued to serve as an advisor to the Galactic Defense Fleet while writing the official history of the war against the machines. His account would become required reading at military academies throughout the galaxy as future officers learned how determination and cooperation could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Jake's story inspired countless young people to dedicate their lives to protecting organic civilization. The reconstruction efforts took 5 years to complete, but resulted in a galaxy that was more prosperous and peaceful than ever before. Trade networks connected species that had never communicated before the war, while joint research projects produced technological advances that benefited everyone. The threat that had nearly destroyed organic life had ultimately brought the galaxy together in ways that peace alone could never have achieved. Commander Mitchell established the first integrated crew training facility where humans and aliens learned to operate the new generation of starships that combined technologies from multiple civilizations. The facility became a symbol of the cooperation that had saved the galaxy while training the crews who would explore regions beyond the rim where new wonders and new challenges waited to be discovered. 10 years after the war ended, President Carter stood in the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships from dozens of species dock at the massive facility that had been built from materials salvaged from machine constructs. Children from every known civilization played together in the station's parks while their parents worked on projects that would have been impossible before the war forced everyone to cooperate. The galaxy had learned that its greatest strength was not the technology or military power of any individual species, but the willingness of different civilizations to work together when survival required cooperation. The machine intelligence had intended to destroy organic life, but had instead created something stronger and more resilient than any single species could have built alone. The new galaxy was a place where former enemies had become lasting friends, and where the future held unlimited possibilities for those brave enough to explore them together.